In this segment, I'm going to show some examples from online news sites from various countries and discuss some of the changes we've seen in recent years. National Public Radio, also known as NPR, is the public radio broadcaster in the U.S. Recently, it has invested a lot of staff and other resources into its website, and all of its audio programs can be downloaded. The news stories are also available as text stories, and online you can find photos and video as well as the radio audio stories. The New York Times produces dozens of original high-definition videos every week. Many of their former photojournalists have become video journalists for this news organization. So it's a newspaper doing a lot of video that's never shown on TV. El País in Madrid, in Spain, publishes original audio programs and interviews on its website. In Spanish, these are called podcasts, the same as in English, because they can be downloaded to an iPod or to any MP3 player. People can also play these audio programs directly on a computer. Anyone who spends a lot of time driving or commuting will be likely to download podcasts. One of the big changes we have seen is a demand for TV reporters to be able to write in traditional print news formats. In this example from the Australian national broadcaster, you can see that the homepage does not even give prominence to a video player. But you'll see in the box at the right side, there's a link to a text story. And who's the writer of that text story? The host of a TV news talk show. He's a longtime political correspondent for ABC. His name is Barrie Cassidy. And just to illustrate my point, this article that Cassidy wrote is 800 words long. It's really a substantial piece of written commentary, and it shows that today TV journalists need to know how to deliver news via text. There are many sites that aggregate news from a variety of sources. Google News is one of the most well-known aggregators. Here you can see my personal Google News. I've customized it to serve my own interests. Some people have said that these aggregators are parasites who just make money from news that others produce. But I disagree. Every story that appears on Google News links back directly to the original story. And as you can see here, it also links to versions of the same story from other news sources. To me, this is very useful. When news content is online, computers and software can keep track of exactly how many people view each story. Most of the major news organizations are using this information to show the public which stories or videos are the most popular. You can see the numbers at the far right side that show this day's rankings for BBC videos. Here are 3 examples of ranked news stories. On the left, you can see BBC's list. Notice at the top, there are 3 tabs. The first one says shared, the second says read, and the third says watched, listened. Each of the tabs lets you see a similar list for example, the stories that were most often shared. That would mean stories that were emailed to other people, or the stories that were the most watched or listened to. That would be the audio and video stories. In the middle of the screen, you see a similar listing or a group of lists from the British newspaper The Guardian. On the right there, you can see the 20 most emailed stories shown at the Washington Post website. These lists allow regular readers and viewers to see what other people are paying attention to. These lists also have significance for the editors and the reporters and producers in the newsroom. I know that at this point you might be thinking, This does not apply to countries in Africa. And this map, which is 3 years old, by the way, would tend to support that statement. But let's look at some recent statistics. Journalists in every country have been slow to move online. The journalists have been slower than the general population. In every country, internet access and internet use did not stay in the small numbers. People continue to log on and to want to use the internet. We have seen news organizations struggling to catch up when the population had already turned to other sources of information. These are the countries that have the largest share of users in Africa. And one of the things that I would have you think about when we're thinking about your country or your news organizations going online and making more use of the internet, don't forget that you've got one of the top news organizations in the world already paying close attention to Africa. They're on your doorstep in Qatar. That concludes the module. This is Mindy McAdams.